Greetings from Greyhound Nation. I'm Doc Elder, the voice of Eastern New Mexico University Athletics. I'm talking today with Matt Billings, the athletic director of Eastern New Mexico University. And Matt, we are privileged to be able to announce we've got a new coach.
Yes, we do, Doc. Really exciting times, isn't it?
Well, obviously, there is a lot of interest in a job in the Lone Star Conference, a lot of interest in Eastern New Mexico University. You probably had a wide selection to choose from. What was it about Brent that really made him stand out?
You know, from the very get-go with Brent, just a high level of integrity. I could see just the love of basketball that he had. Came from a program that was rich in tradition and had a lot of success. Rodney Watson, the former coach there, one of the best coaches in the country. So I felt like Brent had a lot of tools that he could come in here and build this program back up to where we need it to be.
This is your second job selection in your term as the AD here at Eastern New Mexico University. A little bit different, women's soccer, not to take anything away from women's soccer, but if there are three really premier sports at a university, it's usually football, men's basketball, women's basketball. But is the selection process different, or did you look for the same things with the women's soccer hire as you did for men's basketball?
It's the same thing. Probably the only difference between soccer and men's basketball was the volume of applicants, which is going to be typical anywhere you are. Good quality people. They know the game. Can be good role models for our young people come in. Because I always say the person that you're putting in the head chair, they're going to recruit the same type of young people, the same values and vision. And so I knew I knew for quite a while that Brent was my guy. And you just trust your gut and you go with it. So super excited for him to be joining Greyhound Nation.
Obviously, there is a great deal of uncertainty in the United States in relation to sports in particular. But one thing we can assure people, there will be sports. Eastern New Mexico University will field athletic teams. We're just not sure about some of the details right now.
Yeah, it's been, all of us, every AD in the country is, we're in uncharted waters right now. And to say it's been an interesting 4 months on the job would be an understatement. But no, we're going to be playing games again. We're going to be on the field. We're going to be on the courts. When that happens, I don't have a crystal ball and I can't tell, but it'll happen at some point. So people just have to be patient. And again, at the end of the day, the safety and health of everyone is the most important thing for all of us.
And we will point out that because there are uncertain times, not just health-wise, but also in terms of the economy, it's really important for people that are interested in Greyhound athletics. If they have been supporters, we would hope that they'll continue to be supporters because we're going to need supporters more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we don't know when those first games will be, but it's going to be the same, dedication, hard work from our coaches and our student athletes. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to need fans out more than ever. And again, I think it's going to be a time to rejoice. I think we've taken things for granted a little bit. Me being one of them, that you just, you can always be around your friends and your family. And this has definitely made everyone kind of take a step back and really see, again, there's some blessings with this as far as being able to spend time with family and all that. But I think being able to go back out to games and do that type of stuff, I think, yeah, we're going to have good crowds, and I really encourage everyone to come out and support the Greyhounds.
Of course, all of the coaches are exhibiting social distancing, and it's tough for a professor like myself because the only interaction I have with my students is through a computer. It's got to be tough for our coaches, but I understand that Brent, as soon as he got hired, he wanted to get in touch with his players, wanted to Zoom with them. I didn't even know what that was until this whole thing started. So I kudos to your coaches for getting interactive as best they can.
Yeah, our coaches have really kind of taken the bull by the horns with this. And I think it's made everyone learn fairly quickly all the advantages with technology. And again, that's one of the blessings with this. But no, Brent from the very get-go, the first thing he wanted to be in front of the team before it went public, which I completely agreed on. And spent some time with the young men, and then we made it public, and then he's having one-on-ones to see where everyone fits and kind of see the cards that he's been dealt. So yeah, he's super excited. I mean, he's been working for a while. That's just how he is. The minute we agreed to this, he was working. So,
And I talked to you when you got the job at Eastern New Mexico University. You were nice enough to actually come on the halftime of basketball broadcast, the CNS halftime show. Throw a plug in one of our local businesses that supports Eastern Athletics. Yeah. And one thing you told me that we could do a better job of, and that you were really surprised, was just in terms of branding the facility. That unless you literally knew where something was, you had no idea what it was. So even in the times that we are, I imagine that's still something that you'd like to see as a priority.
Yeah. I think anytime that we can improve the marks through the facilities, and even having more of a presence in the city of Portales, we have a long ways to go, and we'll get there. But again, this, I said it from day one that I started here. There are so many things here that are just, it's untapped here. And I really see this as just a sleeping giant. And I think talking with Coach Owen, he would say the same thing. And that's one of the reasons he accepted the job, that he can see what he can do here. And the ceiling is really high here for Eastern New Mexico.
We'll give you a chance, Matt, to talk a little bit about Eastern New Mexico University. Obviously, we'd like people to be able to stroll through the campus, soak up the atmosphere here. Not quite at that stage yet, but if they do want to know about Eastern Athletics, we've got a superb website.
Yeah, we do. And a couple of the candidates had said that they did the virtual tour through the general website. And so the university is doing a lot of really neat things. Like I said, even during my interview, this university does a great job of bringing in high quality young people into this community. And I'm lucky just to be one small part of it, and we'll hopefully continue to do that and make the university proud.
And if they are interested in athletics specifically, I believe it's goeasternathletics.com.
Yes, it is.
And throw another plug in, shameless promotion here, because I'm privileged to be a member of the board of directors of the Greyhound Club. If people want to be a part of the athletic experience, contribute to try and help Greyhound Athletics, Greyhound Club always happy to accept new members.
Absolutely. No, we're always looking for new members. Just like anywhere, we want to continue that membership. The Greyhound Club does some amazing things for us, and we want to continue to build the membership and see the growth in it.
Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure talking to you, but I imagine a lot of people are really interested a little bit more to find out about the new basketball coach, and through the Miracle of Technology, we're going to be able to do a virtual conference with him. So we'll turn it over to that segment right now. My privilege to introduce the new head men's basketball coach at Eastern New Mexico University, Brent Owen. And Coach, welcome to Greyhound Nation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pleasure to meet you, first of all. You've got a great radio voice. I can already hear that. And I guess that's why you've got a great reputation around. A lot of people have said some good things about you already. So I'm excited to get to know you and all of the people in Portales and on campus. So couldn't be more excited about the opportunity and can't wait to get down there and start working with all of you.
Well, Brent, let's do a little bit of background. Where are you from originally, and what was the process that got you to Southern Indiana? What was the process that got you from Southern Indiana to Eastern New Mexico?
Yeah, well, that's kind of a long story. I'll tell you this, I grew up in a small town, a town smaller than Portales. We had about 1,500 people in there, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hoosiers. I wasn't in the state of Indiana. I grew up in Illinois, in Crispin, Illinois. But it was kind of like a Hoosier scene. It was a kind of a basketball crazed town, and that was my passion. So that fit great with me. And so really enjoyed growing up. And then through a connection from the coach at my high school, he knew a coach at Southern Indiana, and they recruited me. And so I was able to join the program there in 2005, 2006, and I spent 4 seasons there on a great team, and then got started with coaching right away. I knew that was going to be my passion and what I wanted to do. And the reasons I thought I was getting into it are not the reasons that I'm currently doing it. So I had a pretty significant change in my perspective, a healthy change in my perspective on what I'm really doing here. But got into coaching right away as a graduate assistant. Did the kind of working 50, 60 hours a week. That was before they kind of had some state restrictions on those. So I was working a ton of hours, just doing anything I possibly could to impress this guy who Rodney Watson, who was our new coach at USI, had just got hired when he hired me. So up late into the night, doing everything I could to make sure I was kind of the last one in the office, and just trying to make an impression on him. And I think I did, because so when I finished my graduate degree, I actually took a head coaching job at a high school for 2 years. And as soon as he had a spot open up on his staff, he asked me to come back. And so spent 3 years with him as a graduate assistant and 6 years with him full time. And we had a ton of success together. It was a great experience. And about a year ago, he informed me that this past season was going to be his last. He was ready to retire. So I knew that it was probably time for me to take the next step in my career. So I spent this whole year really just, evaluating myself, trying to determine, my real philosophies on coaching, and my real philosophies on basketball. I think those are two different things. And just doing everything I possibly could to prepare myself to be a head coach. So spent a lot of time on that this past year. And then, this opportunity came about and there was some interest, and here we are now. And again, just couldn't be more excited.
So, Coach, I have to ask you, growing up in Illinois, are you still a Bulls fan, or having been in Indiana for so many years, are you now a Pacers fan?
So I was 3 hours from Chicago. I lived right on the state line of Illinois and Indiana. So I was about 3 hours from Chicago, and I was about an hour and a half from Indianapolis. So when Reggie Miller pushed Michael Jordan out of the way in whatever game that was in the conference finals and made the three, I was jumping up and down in my living room cheering for the Pacers. So grew up a Pacers fan, but I can tell you that I'm really enjoying watching The Last Dance. I'm sure if you're a sports fan, you know what I'm talking about on ESPN, the story of Jordan, those Bulls. And so that's been a lot of fun, and probably more of a fan of them now than I was when it was actually happening. But that's been great.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the fact that you went into coaching for one reason, you look at it differently. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah. So when I got into coaching, or when I decided I wanted to be a coach, I was watching the guys on TV, and it was like, that's going to be me. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be on television, and I'm going to coach the best teams. And I believe it was my junior or senior year in college. Tom Crean had been hired at Indiana, and there was a newspaper article. Tom Crean signs $2.8 million contract, and I posted that up in my room in college, and that's what I'm going to make the millions and get a bunch of wins and be on TV, and it was a pretty self-centered way of approaching this profession. And so in my first year as a coach, we had a very, very good team. We were loaded. We started off the season 19-0. We were going to play Kentucky Wesleyan, who was, I think they were 18-1 or 17-2, something like that. I believe they were top 10 in the country, and we were second in the country in Division II. Leading up to that game, we had 3 TV stations that covered our program. So there's cameras in the gym all week leading up to the game, and we're listening to ESPN radio on the way over to the game, and they're talking about this huge game. And I'm a first-year coach. This is what I'm in it for, these big games. And anyway, during that game, I remember there was a call where a referee called the jump ball, and then in mid-signal changed it to a foul on us. And I was so upset about that call. Couldn't have been more upset. How could this happen? In this big of a game, it's second half, it's a tight ball game. We got so much on the line. We're trying to be the number one team in the country. We can't lose. And so a few plays later, there's a play. We get a steal, we get a layup, and the referee blows his whistle. And we had a senior captain by the name of Jerron Lewis. And Jerron, we had no idea what the whistle was for, and the referee points the other end of the floor, and Jerron was laying on his back. And so we thought he had got knocked unconscious, and so an ambulance came. They took him away, and there's 4 minutes left in the game. We finished the game. We won the game. So after the game, we were going to go visit him in the hospital, make sure he was okay. And my whole mindset again was, we've got a game next Thursday. He had a concussion, I'm sure, but those doctors better be, he better be ready to play in that game. And that's where my head was. And on the way there, we got a call that he had passed away, and I still get chills talking about it. But he was a senior captain, and he had an enlarged heart, and he had passed away. And I just remember the drive back, going back to Evansville. I just was kind of looking at myself in the mirror and was like, that game didn't mean anything, and that call certainly didn't mean anything. And there's a way bigger picture to this that I'm missing out on. And so it really just, I'm a man of faith, and I really started looking at, how can I align, my professional outlook more in line with my personal values. And so I'm really in this for the relationship side. I just feel like, one thing I told the reporter earlier is that, I think when I'm 85 years, I spent probably 30 or 40 nights in a hotel last year, recruiting or with the team. And thankfully my wife's job is pretty flexible, so she was able to be with me some of those nights. But when I'm 85 years old, I think it'd probably be worth $1 million to me to spend 30 nights with my son or my wife. And so I just don't think the money's worth it. But what I do think is worth it is the relationship side. And I think that there can be such a powerful relationship between a coach and a player. And I want to use that, relationship to be someone that these guys can lean on and count on, and kind of help guide them to what I think is probably the most critical time in their lives, where they're, where after they leave us, the real world hits, and it's kind of that time where it's the first time away from their parents, but they're still being taken care of a little bit, in terms of having, some things, scholarship, and you're still going to school. And, but after that, it's over, and they're on their own. And so having the opportunity to really be kind of the last line that prepares them for that, and developing those lifelong relationships, that's what's worth it. That's what makes it worth it for me.
Coach, you mentioned the fact that you have a wife and a son, but from what I understand, the Owen family is going to be enlarged by one additional member in July.
Yes. Yep. Round 2 on the way. So, we are expecting our second son in July. It was when we opened up a present this Christmas, it was a blue outfit. So, boy number 2 coming, and couldn't be more excited about that. Obviously, I'm sure I'm going to look back at this as one of the most special times in my life. So, lots of exciting things going on.
Coach, you mentioned the fact that it's in college that important relationships are formed. This is a critical stage in the lives of the young men that are going to be playing basketball for you. When you come to Portales, you're going to have to sell yourself to the players, but the players are also going to have to sell themselves to you. Yeah. What are you going to bring to the table, and what would you hope that they bring to the table when they meet you?
So that process has already kind of started. So I spent, before it was announced, I was able to talk with the team about, I was able to introduce myself to them before it was announced. Matt Billings and I both thought that was very important. So I was able to talk to him, introduce myself, and so that was the first step. And then during that meeting, I told him, hey, look, I would like to get on a Zoom call with you so we can be face to face and do that. You can see facial expressions a little bit, and I think that helps you read things. So the past 2 days, I was able to get on Zoom calls with each one of the returners and spend about 45 minutes each with them, just getting to know them. We didn't talk basketball. It was really, I wanted to get to know them personally and know who they were and what their family situation was and what they want to do with life, what they're studying. Do they have a girlfriend? Which we got a lot of guys in love, by the way. There's something in the water in Portales. These guys are in love. So I really enjoyed, it ended up being, 6 or 7 hours of Zoom calls. And when I got done with that, I felt like maybe it was an hour or two, but it kind of flew by because I was really enjoying getting to know them, and so we kind of that's where the foundation is going to be set. What I would expect from them is just an open mind to some new ideas. Based on what I've watched on film, obviously some games, and I think basketball philosophy wise, I'm definitely going to have some concepts that they're not used to. but I would just hope that they bring an open mind to maybe changing some things and just absolutely want to compete and have an expectation for winning. That's what I hope from them. And so far, I'll say this: so far, I feel like they've been very receptive, and they've been great to talk to.
Obviously, your answer may change in the first 5 minutes of practice when you're able to actually start being on the court with your whole team in October. But if you had to say there's one characteristic that a team that plays for you has to have, what's the one thing that they have to bring to the floor every night?
Yeah, toughness. And I really think that's where our program at USI kind of took the next step to get us to that Final Four run. Is we had done a great job of recruiting talent. We were always successful and won a lot of games, but never really could. We won a couple conference championships, but never could really make that deep run in the tournament. And we had a really disappointing season in 2017, 2018, where we had a very talented team, and we won 20 games, and that was a disappointing season for us. But we didn't make the NCAA tournament, and we should have made the NCAA tournament. We really sat down as a staff and just said, kind of, what are we missing here? What are we? And it was kind of discussed that maybe we're focused a little bit too much on the things that you can see right away. The talent, the skill, the athleticism, and maybe we're not looking deep enough into the character side. And so we really, that next year in the recruiting process, we really focused on trying to ask all the questions that we could and do all the digging that we could to make sure that we were getting a tough player and a competitive player. And so we brought some guys in, and they weren't, some of them were very good players, and some of them were role guys who just were absolutely tough, and you could count on them every single day, and just wanted to win. And so I would say that's the number one most important thing for me is I want a team that's going to be tough and that's going to compete.
Obviously, you did due diligence. You looked into where Eastern New Mexico University is located. You probably looked at our mission statement as a university. Why do you think you're a good fit for Eastern New Mexico University and for Portales, New Mexico?
Yeah, so again, I grew up in a small town, and I really like that environment. I really enjoyed growing up and having that community environment where when you went to the store, you saw three people you knew, and everybody kind of knows everybody and kind of takes care of everybody. And I guess the thing that I really wanted to make sure that I found was I really wanted to find great people. And that's if you're going to win and going to have a successful program, you've got to have great people. And that was just a very common theme across the board from everybody that I talked to. I talked to a couple other coaches in the Lone Star Conference just to ask them about the situation. They both said, kind of smaller town but great people. University seems like it has solid administration, full of good people. Then when I'm talking to the coaches, great people work here. Love working with these people. So people was the word that I kept hearing, and that's the most important thing. And then obviously, you've got an incredible league in the Lone Star Conference. In recruiting, that's something that I feel like we can really sell. If you come in here in this league and you put up numbers, we expect to bring in guys who want to play professional basketball. So, the selling point is come in this league and put up numbers, and that dream can come true in a hurry. So that was obviously, I was familiar with the league because we played West Texas A&M in the Elite Eight, and had played Midwestern State and then out in Vegas. And I had the scout for West Texas, so I was able to watch. I wasn't just watching them, but I watched 7 or 8 of their games in the Lone Star Conference. So I was seeing the other teams too, and got a really good idea of how there are some very talented, great basketball players in this league, and so that's exciting for me to be able to coach on that level, and I think it'll be exciting for recruits to be able to bring them in and play at this level. So that was attractive, along with the school and along with the great people.
Coach, we talked earlier about a program that's airing currently on ESPN, but you must have ESP because that was my next question. I was going to ask you about what you knew about the Lone Star Conference. So I'll just fast forward to the next question.
Okay.
Obviously, moving forward, you're going to have the ability to set the non-conference part of your schedule, but this year I imagine you're pretty well locked into place. what's the first time that anybody is going to see the Greyhounds play anywhere? And do you have kind of a rough idea of when the first time that you'll be able to show off your team at Greyhound Arena?
I think it's actually a little bit open, and I think there's still some uncertainty about exactly. I think you could still see some changes to this upcoming season based on the virus, and I don't know what those are going to be exactly yet, but I do think that that's still a possibility on the table, and not just. I think maybe even not just with the concerns of the virus itself, but maybe also with some of the some of the financial constraints that are going on with some of these universities. I think you could see a change coming in the schedule, and not quite certain what that is yet. But as soon as I find out, we'll get on top of everything and figure out what that's going to look like. But I think there still are probably unfortunately, some changes coming. It could be an unusual season yet this year.
Well, see, that's why you're a head coach and I'm merely a sports guy, because I didn't even stop to think about that. You did. So, yeah, it's a really good point. We have some uncertainties here. Coach, you've already talked a little bit about the fact that you've got a wife, you got a son on the way. Who are the other influences? Who helped to make you not only the coach that you are, but the person that you are?
Yeah, I'm a mama's boy, I would say. So she's always she's kind of been a cheerleader for me along the way. Always encouraged me to kind of chase dreams and really step outside my comfort zone, to go after what I really want. My grandparents are still alive and well, and they can't. They're already talking about coming down for maybe spending a month in Portales during the basketball season to visit. So they've been an important part of my foundation. I had some great coaches at a young age. Chad Benedict was my high school coach in Crispin, Illinois. He's now the principal at Muhammad Seymour High School in near Champaign, Illinois. But he really encouraged me and influenced me and had a great impact on me at a young age. So he was one of the reasons that I really decided, like, hey, maybe I want to have that kind of impact on somebody else someday. And then obviously my wife has been my she's all in, and that's my most important recruit of all time for sure. And I definitely hit a home run in that recruiting process. So she's been great, and she's all on board. She can't wait to get there, and she'll be in the stands cheering, and we'll be all in with the team, and just absolutely couldn't do it without her. So.
And Coach, I had a chance to see the video that you created when you found out that you did get the job, and you talked about the fact that you would like to see Greyhound Arena packed on basketball night. And if there's anything we can do at our end at Rudy Moon Podcasting or at KNW, the television station here, we'd like to help you get the message out, because that would be awesome.
Absolutely. I see so much potential in that. And a lot of people think small town, it's going to be hard, but the team that led Division II basketball in attendance was Northern State at 3,500 a game, and they have 25,000 people in their town. So, we were in Evansville, Indiana, again, 150, 200,000 people in that neighborhood, depending on where you draw the line. But, we averaged 1,850 people at our games this past season. We were top 10 in the country. It doesn't have to be a big city, to bring in a ton of people. I think that, with Eastern New Mexico kind of being, kind of the center of Portales, I think this community can really wrap itself around this program as long as we get out there and wrap ourselves around them. I'm all about creating a personal connection between the program and the community. It's going to take tons of work, tons of energy, and I'm glad to hear you're on board. So we're going to need a whole bunch of people on board. But I can't wait to get out there and start meeting people and building relationships, because it's going to take everybody. But I certainly see, I looked at how much tickets cost, and I think it's affordable, and it can be very entertaining. We'll try to make it a great atmosphere. We'll try to put a great product out on the floor and give the community something to do, and where we can all, once this virus is going on, I know we're all anxious to have some community again and get back, to being around each other, and hopefully that, we can kind of be the center of that.
Brent Owen, congratulations on the job. I can't wait to meet you. I don't know how long it's going to be before we're actually able to sit in the same room and get to know each other, but I'm excited to hear your vision for Greyhound basketball, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you, Doc. Great to meet you, and couldn't be more excited. Can't wait to get down there and looking forward to get started. Here we go. Let's do it together.
So that will conclude our interview with Coach Brent Owen. And for a little while longer, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.